fortified multifamily gold, and a whole bunch of different things. Municipal retention bonds was in there, insurance benefits to all of this. And Attorney Marshall Simien was able to kind of go in depth with us and talk a little bit deeper about some of these things. And we are looking forward to, or I'm looking forward to having more discussions. And let me also say that Attorney Marshall Simien would love to have a more in-depth discussion with you or your group. So if you would like to get together with Attorney Marshall Simien, you can do so by reaching out to him at his website. For those of you who are watching us live on Facebook or who are watching on YouTube, the website is right now on your screen. But let me just tell you what it is. It is it is www.Simien for Mayor. That is Simien, FOR, mayor.com. All right, so SimienForMayor.com. Then you can go to social media outlets, elect Marshall Simien. And again, he is open to having discussions with you and all of that stuff. Now that I've done some of the housekeeping stuff, how are you doing, Attorney Simien?
I'm doing great. Baby girl's about to go off to college, so we're about to become empty nesters.
Wow, I bet you that is a wonderful feeling. Oh, there we go. I see that some of the people couldn't hear me just now with all the talking I was just doing, but that's all right. We got it fixed now. Congratulations on becoming empty nesters. Like I said, I can't imagine that just yet. I mean, mine's only 4 months, but
enjoy the nesting, man. It's the perfect place to incubate them, you know.
Yes, sir. Absolutely, absolutely. And again, let me just repeat it for those of you who couldn't hear me. Attorney Marshall Simien is open to having discussions with you. And if you want to have a discussion with Attorney Marshall Simien, all you have to do is go to the website. Again, let me give you this website. It is www.Simien, FORMAYOR.com, or check out the social media platforms, elect Marshall Simien on Facebook. And how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. I'm blessed. Baby girl's leaving this week. Gonna truly miss her.
I know. Yeah.
Like I tell my family, we don't celebrate that empty nest syndrome. We just we love them so much. They're always ours.
Yeah, I definitely understand. And I can imagine, Attorney Simien, you know, over the years, one of the things that has been important to you, especially having, you know, a couple of children of your own that you raised in this community,
Sure.
In North Lake Charles, would be public safety.
Yes.
So let's kind of dive a little bit into public safety, and let's talk about what is public safety from your perspective.
Okay. Well, generically, people talk about public safety from law enforcement, fire and protection, but you know, in the big picture, from my government standpoint, public safety is a system of rules, enforcement mechanisms, infrastructure and services that reduce basically risks to people's lives or the quality of life. But that public safety covers a whole bunch of areas. I mean, like you have the police and fire protection, you have the public works and services. Those are what the city's biggest giant apparatuses are, and you'll see that when I talk about the city's budget. But you also have the criminal legal system. You've got from the policing to the prosecution to incarceration, and those are the end part of the system. So my platform on public safety deals with how do you get in front of that and try to be more preventative than punitive. Because our system of punitive has not really enhanced our society. It's kind of labeled people and taken people out of society where they have to do desperate things to survive. So the thing becomes, how do you build a public safety system that actually enhances people or gives them the opportunity to basically rise if they want to rise, you know? So that includes safe neighborhoods. We all want safe neighborhoods. Access to safe and affordable housing. You want high quality schools. You want comprehensive health care, you know, because you definitely don't want a sick neighborhood. And that includes mental health and behavioral issues because, you know, believe it or not, our law enforcement deals with more mental health issues than they do true, actual criminal behavior.
Mm-hmm.
You got drug and alcohol treatment because, you know, that's escape mechanisms that people go into. You've got rehabilitation programs. So instead of just punishing, I mean, bad people need to be punished, but some people are worthy of rehabilitation. And then you have other things. How do you holistically give people opportunities? So you have to work through public transportation because not everybody can afford vehicles, especially these days at the prices they have. Safe gathering places for everyone, families, youth, everyone, to name a few. So those things, public safety covers those things, like what type of youth programs you're going to put in place. So we've got a lot of young people, and I've been distressed to see how many young people are involved in some pretty serious crimes in our neighborhood. Lake Charles has always been a pretty wholesome community, but you're starting to see an uptick in things that are starting to give some concern, not just to me as a citizen, or it should to any parent, but also to law enforcement, what they're encountering out there, you know. Then you also have, and I think that's the recreation departments, but you also have like workforce development, job training opportunities. You know, there's some talented people in our community that have not yet found what their best talent is that's going to help them support their families in the long haul. Then you've got to deal with people that have made mistakes in their youth. How do you give them a second chance? You know, we've been talking a lot about criminal expungements. We have a homelessness situation. You have food insecurity. You have a health risk, and you have to anticipate how to plan and implement ways to make all of that work together holistically to address the larger issue, which is the human condition in our city.
Absolutely. And so let me ask you, you know, when you talk about things like food insecurity, what does that kind of mean or look like?
Well, food insecurity deals with whether people are eating healthy foods that's going to help their bodies. You know, I mean, the best example I can use, my law firm has represented SWLA Center for Health Services since about 2006. We deal with a lot of people that have diabetes. You know, the traditional method of diabetes is that people to crisis with diabetes, and then next thing you know, they're getting amputated and things like that. Well, that takes people out of functional lives, and they go into disability and programs and things like that. But a preventative measure would be how do you tell people, okay, we're monitoring your sugar. Here's some healthy things that you can do, healthy things that you can eat that keeps you working, keeps you productive, keeps you at a good quality of life. And to do that, you know, instead of having a Burger King in every corner or fast foods, you need whole foods. You need organic things. You need other things that you can put into your body to fuel your system that can make you go and keep you healthy.
Okay. And so I'm just asking because I know others will have these questions. And also because it was something that came up in a recent election. But is securing places like a Whole Foods or something of that nature, or just, you know, better grocery options, is that something that falls under the purview of the mayor?
The mayor's job is a very defined job, but also the mayor's the elected leader of the community. So my view of the mayor is that the mayor isn't just there to operate city services, but he's there to connect different dots, you know. I mean, the private sector delivers things a whole lot more efficiently than the government ever will, but the mayor can round up people and say, look, Chamber of Commerce, business leaders, investors, we need to have healthy food options in our city, in our community. Let's go take a field trip. Let's go talk to the Whole Foods. If it's entertainment, let's go talk to the people at Top Golf. Let's go talk to the people at Buc-ee's and say, look, we're coming we want you to be into our community. That makes a big difference to these companies when you have the mayors, the head of the chambers of commerce, all kind of different people that's coming in and saying, look, we want to welcome you to our home.
Okay, all right. And like I said, the reason why I asked that is because I know it will come up with other people. Plus, it was a big topic with, I think, the last state representative race we had.
Yes.
And one person was saying, that ain't my job. The other person was saying, well, I want to make sure it happens. And so I just, before anybody gets anything confused, we're going to address it now. That is something that you would be willing to tackle, but it's not necessarily something that is the direct responsibility of our mayor.
No, the mayor can't go out, the city and the taxpayers can't go out and bring a Whole Foods and finance that thing. They can't.
Right.
But what the city can do is say, look, Buc-ee's, there's a Buc-ee's coming to Lafayette. What the city parish government in Lafayette did was they made sure the infrastructure was there to support that. If you don't have the water and the sewer and the electrical connections that can support a business, you're not going to attract those businesses.
Right. Absolutely. Got you. And then you mentioned something else here, and we'll continue on, but you also talk about addressing homelessness. And I know that you already have connections with, and you talked about it in, I think, one of your very first interviews, our veterans home, because we know that that's part of the as a veterans home, but veterans kind
VA
of
clinic, yeah.
clinic. And so I know that that's something that is a lot of the people who not a lot, but some of the people who we see that are homeless are veterans, and they do need that help. And so I think that is a worthwhile thing that you have, at least in some part of your mind, have considered the responsibility of addressing homelessness.
Yeah, and that homelessness is, part of the public safety is to get people out of the elements. I mean, we've been experiencing some heat. I mean, right now the heat index outside is probably about 104, 105 degrees. The state just implemented a statute that says that now people can't even panhandle to try to get resources to try to shelter themselves. So, yeah, I mean, it's illegal now to give people money that's out on the street panhandling by the interstates and everything.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
No,
I still see them standing out there. So, but I do see every now and then a police officer will pull up and stop them. But I did not know that was now illegal.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, there was a meeting last week. U.S. Congressman Clay Higgins came to the Allen August Center, and he was talking, giving the state of everything, but he was saying philosophically how he has a issue with social programs. But then he said that on his way in, he saw a guy that had no shoes on, and he gave him $5. And I said, well, that would be against the law. And it's not sure that $5 is going to make its way to the guy's foot. Why don't we just have a program that actually gives them shoes,
Absolutely, yeah.
And we are our brother's keeper to some extent,
Absolutely. So that is good to know that you have something to kind of address that. But then let's also talk about this, because as we talk about public safety, I think that one of the things that people fail to recognize falls under the purview of public safety is a housing wage issue that we have here in Lake Charles. So let's talk about the housing wages and how you would address that.
And I'm glad you asked that question, James, because philosophically, for me, public safety begins at home. Everything that happens is dependent on what happens in our home and what we send out there. The Housing Louisiana has I'm going to read this. Housing Louisiana had a study that was done that showed that in order to afford what they call a modest 2-bedroom apartment, and that fair market rent, that's a standard across the country. For a 2-bedroom apartment, a person in Lake Charles needs to earn $20.77 an hour. And those are real wages to have adequate home housing.
Yeah.
So use that as a backdrop of what do we need to do. That's what I call a true living wage. You've had a lot of things on the national level and state level about wages, but the mayor doesn't affect that. You can't tell people what to pay people, but I look at things in terms of what's the goal. So if that study shows that the fair market rent for a 2-bedroom apartment is $20.77 an hour, that translates to $1,050 for a 2-bedroom apartment. And to earn that, a person in a household must earn $3,800 a month, really $46,000 a year. There's a lot of people that aren't earning that. So I had said in my previous talk that Lake Charles is an 8-cylinder engine, because when you look at what we have in terms of the industry, LNG, gaming, aerospace, we're an 8-cylinder engine economically, but I think we're operating on about 4 cylinders because we haven't activated all the areas that could generate income, like our interstate corridors, things like that, where new money can come into the city. But if you look at the city's budget, the pie, if you do a pie of the city's budget, roughly one-fourth of the city's budget goes toward police protection, 1/4 goes toward fire protection, 1/4 goes toward public works, and then the other 1/4 goes toward everything else. And there's two theories of economic development. One is, if you want to thrive, you need to get a bigger piece of the pie. But the only problem with that, it presumes the pie is as big as it's going to get. And to get a bigger piece, you got to cut into somebody else's slice, and that creates friction.
That's good. Yeah.
Well, my
I see what you're
theory is just make the whole pie bigger. And you have to do with that is you got to have ingredients and a good cook. I mean, we've got interstate corridors that are bringing money in that can bring way more money in. We've got untapped resources that we still have not activated yet, and make that whole pie bigger. Not only does that slice get bigger for everyone else, now the policemen and the fire and the city workers can get true living wages because now you can afford to pay them more. But now there's more pie to create more slices, and the more slices of the pie you can put together, then you bring everybody to the table, then you have true and meaningful participation in your city, and then people start taking ownership and buying into some of the things that you want, like public safety. If the police and fire protection helps with a lot of different things, but it requires neighborhood involvement. They can't operate out in a vacuum, So the city has to look at how do we deal with imbalances, like in the northern part of Lake Charles, there's an imbalance. There's more rental units than there are home ownership opportunities.
Right.
And when you have an imbalance in rentals, you have more transient type communities, so it destabilizes the school systems. You see an increase in crime. You see things like that. But if you have communities where you have a lot of home ownership, or at least there's a logical balance, then people own a home. They're concerned about how the schools are functioning in their neighborhood. I live in front of Conbury-Findale. In back of Conbury-Findale, they've got a STEM program that I think is second to none. You become concerned about crime in your neighborhood. You become concerned about people taking care of their homes and their property. So one domino feeds the other. But all of that comes down to how do you pay for it, and you don't want to tax yourselves to death. Trust me, I think we pay enough taxes. But why don't you just make the pie big? We got the ingredients. Let me get in there and cook and see what we can do, and let's enhance that. We spend a lot of money retaining policemen and firemen, and then we can't pay them enough. And after all that training, after all that investment, they go to other municipalities and give the same services. So we're actually bleeding money on that. Public services, we have a lot of good city workers that could use better equipment, that could use better resources, and pay that can get them up to the level where they can afford to have good quality housing. And then they become a lot more engaged in the public safety as a whole of our city.
Absolutely.
She agrees.
Absolutely. And one of the things that you mentioned that I know is absolutely true, because they just did they had a meeting about it a couple of months ago, is you talk about the fire department,
Yes.
And how underpaid they are. But yet I see that we were running a commercial here recently there's like a $6,000 sign-on thing if you join the police department.
Yes.
But then, the guys there who complain about they're not getting paid enough.
Yes.
But yet they can go to a Shreveport. They can go to other cities, and they know they can make more money there.
Right.
And so I think that is something very important that you bring up there, that we have to work on the retention of our citizens by giving them a livable wage. I like the way you put that, or that you talked about that. And then finally, let me ask you, because you mentioned the STEM program over at Conbury-Findale in front of your house.
Sure.
But and then earlier you mentioned other youth programs and things. But how do you think, or what do you think about providing and delivering working, actionable youth programs, and how that ties into public safety?
Well, I'll start with the root of the youth issue is going to be the home and the parents. I was at a meeting yesterday where they had a luncheon with the DA, and he was talking about the expungement program, which I think is a key program, because when I was when my office was in the Capital One building, the TWIC card office was at the bottom floor. And you get a TWIC card, that's your access into plant jobs. And plant jobs, those are the holy grail if you want to really get to this kind of living wage. But you've got some people that they made unfortunate decisions when they're in their youth, and they're locked out. Not only can they not vote, but they can't get a TWIC card. Well, if you were young and you used drugs and got caught with possession, you can get a TWIC card. But if you were caught with intent to distribute, you can't. So you'd be surprised how many people were overcharged on different things, had public defenders represent and just pleaded without knowing the consequences of that. And now they can't access the job market or the training opportunities that are prevalent in this community. So what we do is, I had them come in. Some of them, they would send some of them up to my office and tell me what their charges were. Like, Mr. Marshall, it was 4 of us riding around at 19 years old. We got stopped, but that was a roach in the ashtray. And, we just pled to, they charged us with possession. We just pled to get a light sentence without realizing what that does. And none of them could afford to pay me because, that's the expensive process to go through that. So I asked them all, I said, do you have children? Yes. Do you have child support obligations? Yeah. So I said, well, then you're going to sign this contract that says that if I help you with this, you're going to go and take care of that child support and start there trying to bring the support, the foundation to that family back together. And went in and the DA's office was very good at working with us on it. We got them expunged. They wound up getting TWIC cards. One guy, last I checked, was making 6 figures working at the plants. And they went and paid their child support obligations, but I got an unanticipated a call that said, Mr. Marshall, I paid now. They don't want me to see the child. I said, well, you're gainfully employed. Go ahead and assert your visitation rights because that child needs a father and a mother, not a man and a woman. They need somebody who's going to really be a father. So I said, if you're going to go this route, be a father, give this child some support. Well, then you see they get engaged with the youth. Next thing you know, when the youth have football, basketball activities, the parents that are engaged in helping coach or provide treats or accompanying field trips or chaperoning, when they get engaged like that, you never know how much that child is watching and modeling, saying, my dad was there, my mom was there, and how much joy it brings to your heart to see your child do things that are just amazing. The whole book of Genesis just kind of comes together. But the central part of that is the home, and then the second part is going to be how the school's functioning, and then what's the recreational opportunities. I can tell you, my children, there was not much for teenagers to do in the city. And it's disappointing because that's where all that energy is, that's where all the ideas are. People complain about social media, but if you don't find a way to engage these children functionally, they're going to engage in ways, and the social media, the streets are waiting to raise them. So for instance, my children played basketball. They love basketball, so they played gospel basketball. Gospel basketball is very, very well known on the AAU circuit. So I wound up sponsoring a team, bought the uniforms and everything else. And I told the kids, I said, look, if you guys do what you're supposed to do and stay out of trouble, at the end of the season, I get you whatever you want. So at the end of the season, they did very well. And at the award ceremony, I said, okay, what do y'all want? They said, well, back then it was a PlayStation 2. I said, wait, I'm not going to contribute to the delinquency of a juvenile. But Coach Clifford Miller, who was their coach, said, Marshall, if you promise them, you got to deliver. I said, okay. So I got together, and the late, my good friend, Mr. Billy Navarre, got together. I bought a PlayStation 2, we got the TV, and we brought it in the recreation center. And I remember the first day the kids were coming, I'm playing first. I said, whoa, wait, you guys didn't read the fine print on this thing. I said, in order to play this, you got to bring in some grades. So we had basically a contract with them that said, look, for every A you brought in, you got 30 minutes playtime. For every B, you got 15 minutes. For every C, you got 0 time. For every D, you owed us 15 minutes. And for every F, you owed us 30 minutes. And James, you should have seen kids were coming in, yeah, I got 30 minutes playing time. And we were bumping fists, and they got an A. And some of these kids were not making these kind of grades at all, but we took what was their value system and made it work with the school system. And some of these kids were very bright and talented. They just had not applied themselves for whatever reason, but just a PlayStation 2 did that. So you can imagine what innovative recreation could do, what the family could do when they get involved in the youth. And that's going to take a lot of pressure off of what's happening in the streets out there. The streets cannot get these kids if they've got productive things to engage them in. And I think even as a city, we can get involved in social media platforms to do what everybody else is doing. Put positive things out there for the youth to get them engaged, identify talent, and let that rise to the top. And I think all of our society is going to benefit.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so, friends, again, I said it at the top of the show, and I want to say it again. What Attorney Simien is sharing with you is just a portion of his plan. There is more to it, more that he would like to do. And so if you would like to have a discussion with him, you can check out that website, which is simienformayor.com. That is Simien, F-O-R, mayor.com, or go to their social media platform, connect with them there, elect Marshall Simien. That's it, right? Elect Marshall Simien.
Elect Marshall Simien.
There you go. Mm-hmm. And so I want to encourage you again. He is open and willing to have a discussion with you. I mean, he say you can put on a pot of coffee put on a pot of sauce in the way, and he gonna come and enjoy.
A sauce pecan work too.
Yeah, there you go. And he gonna come enjoy with you, and he'll talk to you, your neighbors, your friends, whomever the case may be. Friends, I say this all the time. Every election, it is so important that we take advantage of all of the knowledge and information that is available to us. Yes. Because an informed decision, when we have all the information and we make an informed decision, you can never go wrong for your community when you make a good informed decision. Now, again, there may just be some who just don't know and they go and just press any button. But when you press the right button and it's right for you because you've made, the right choice or the choice that feels right for you because you've done your research, it makes a difference even if it's just for you. So I want to continue to encourage you to do that. Now, I mean, I've said quite a bit, but what do you have in mind today?
Well, as they say, safety is first. Public safety is first. Safety is first. Safety shapes a community. Safety shapes communities. Safety shapes a city. And what we think about safety traditionally, it's more than that. It starts from the home. It's so many aspects of safety. But what we can say today is that safety involves every person. It involves the city. It involves businesses, plants, organizations, and we need to come together to make a really safe environment, because when there's safety, that enhances trust of the people, and better functioning of the people to enjoy that city and to be productive. So those are my takes.
Well, there you have it. I tell you, I enjoy when your wife is able to summarize everything up at the end. It just kind of makes it all worthwhile. I'm going to give you the closing words before we close out.
Okay, well, I just want to thank everyone for, I've been receiving a lot of positive feedback. A lot of people have been watching the videos and listening to the broadcast. And I'm not holding anything back. I'm as transparent as they come. I'm just going to say what I think, but it's just as important what you think too, because at the end of the day, this election is going to be about you, who you select to be your mayor, who you select to lead this city into the future that you desire. I'm putting out information about what I want, but a lot of it is derived from talking to people and seeing what they want, what's important to you, what's important to us, the values that we have. And, you go around the city and talk to everyone, and it's amazing that everybody wants the same thing. You have different ways of getting there, but we all want the same thing. And that lifts me up because it makes it that much easier to come up with solutions. So I want to thank everybody for listening, and we're going to continue this through September. Like I said, this is a time for some very, very, very important discussions about our city, the direction we want it to go in our future. So thank you.
Absolutely. And if you have any questions that you'd like to submit to Attorney Simien, first you can email them to shabachradio935@gmail.com. That's SHABACHRADO935@gmail.com. And I will be sure to forward those to Attorney Simien. Or is it okay if they email you directly?
Sure, they can email me directly. My email address is Marshall, MARSHALL, at SimienLaw, SIMIENLAW.com, or you can put it on the website, or even on the Facebook page. I'll get to it.
There you have it. There you have it. Well, I want to thank the Simiens for coming in today. I think talking about public safety, I did not understand or know that all of that fell under the headline of public safety.
Sure.
I thought we were just going to talk about, putting more cops or more police officers on the streets and things of that nature, but I see that it entails a whole lot more.
Yes.
So thank you for that on today. We
Yes,
greatly appreciate it. All right, friends, you're tuned in to I Am Encouraged Radio with your host, James W. Chavis, and you hear my co-host, Little Miss Liberty Elvira, with me on today.
Liberty.
But we're going to go ahead and take a quick break, and then we'll be right back right here on I Am Encouraged Radio.
This is Today, a daily devotional to refresh, refocus, renew.
This is Today for Tuesday, August 13.